Dear friends of the World Parliament of Religions, I bring you greetings from the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development of the Vatican, the Holy See. And on its behalf, I wish this session of the World Parliament of Religions great success and deliberations and everything that you, especially in these tough, challenging moments of not only the COVID pandemic, but as Pope Francis has said, this healthcare pandemic has revealed and made known a whole lot of other social pandemics. So you all recall that 6 years ago, Pope Francis presented to the world his groundbreaking encyclical letter Laudato Si on care for our common home to the global community. This encyclical is being discussed in all the different places of the world, and especially in these sessions of the Parliament. More recently, as you may recall again, Pope Francis created in this same dicastery a COVID commission for dealing with and following the experiences of the world with this health crisis or health pandemic. Both of these papal efforts signaled a profound conviction that the environmental degradation and the pandemics were exposing a need of a wholesale social reconstruction, and they need to rebuild our social structures and system again, and as Pope Francis gladly puts it, to prepare the future. It's not to prepare for the future, but to prepare the future, for which he requests this dicastery and asks this dicastery with this COVID commission to become the seedbed for the new future that needs to be generated and that needs to be prepared. So to lay the groundwork for a new normal, as it were, Pope Francis wrote a subsequent encyclical letter called Fratelli Tutti on fraternity and social friendship. In that encyclical, the Pope set out his vision of what the human community will be required to do to develop what we are now referring to as the new normal. In Fratelli Tutti then, Pope Francis sketched an outline of post-COVID-19 world in which the deep wounds of society have become apparent in stark fashion during the past year. The process of building the new normal, according to Pope Francis, must be based on fraternity and social friendship. We in the global community must begin to see ourselves as neighbors without borders if we are to meet the challenges of the present, if you want, twin crisis, not only of a health pandemic, but also of the climate change and health of our environment. So at the outset of Fratelli Tutti, Pope Francis acknowledges that dark clouds loomed over a closed world. Those clouds were rooted in gross violations of human dignity, individual human rights, shameless aggression on the resources of nature, on the endowments of Mother Earth, and forms of subjection, and a self-contempt combined with information without wisdom, as he puts it, all of which have generated considerable conflict and fear. The search then for a compassionate action that will help to heal our world, our exposed social wounds, which undergird the convening of this Parliament of Religions, mirrors the vision of Pope Francis in Fratelli Tutti. Pope Francis calls upon the human community to tear down its silos. He calls us to an open understanding of love and the compassion that integrates all peoples in the social fabric on the basis of dignity, equality, and shows profound concern for the totality of creation. In so doing, Pope Francis invites us to recognize the fact that in the present globalist world, We live in a system with a network of relationship, interwoven, interdependent, interconnected relationship, which does not permit any of us to consider ourselves as independent variables in this network. None of us, or none of our social structures and systems, may be considered as an independent variable. And that's why we cannot allow the marginalized to become mere associates for the ruling classes. The vision then requires humanity to develop a heart open to the entire world. Borders between us need to crumble, or at least be minimized. We must reorganize. We must also recognize that all people possess gifts from their particular cultures and traditional wisdoms that can be brought to the global family as a source of communion and as a source of common enrichment. So, my dear friends, Pope Francis insists that his vision of a new normal will require a different approach to the social, economic, and political order. I mention all of this because there are details that can be brought to bear in all of this. For example, you may have heard of, or you may have read about, the Pope's initiative about the economy of Pope Francis, which gathers young people from all around the world, 800,000 close, to pursue and discuss the possibility of an alternative to the present economic system, which according to Pope Francis kills, and to develop a system which is more people-centered and which has the human person at heart. And so, our era of profound environmental degradation in the midst of a pandemic calls us to create societies rooted in the centrality of love in the realm of our political structures, a love that explodes into, affects into effective concrete action. At the heart of societies in this time of the new normal, we in the human family are called to practice a form of political cohesion and alliance, a form of politics that is marked by a sacrificial spirit in service of the common good. This service of the common good must become like the social ethic or the social principle that binds all of us together. For recognizing the human family as a unit, you may recall the words of Aristotle from way back, who considered and told us that as long as we live in a community of people, each one of us must feel a sense of responsibility towards fashioning the common good. And that's what we need to remind ourselves about in this period. We do not only face a crisis, but we are challenged by both Pope Francis and his predecessor to work on a new normal, or as it were, on a new future, to turn a new leaf. Just as Pope Francis tells us that from this crisis, nobody should think about emerging and coming out the same way as in the past. We should become out something different, having turned a better leaf, as it were. For the same reason, Pope Benedict, in 2008, 2009, when he also wrote his encyclical letter, Caritas in Veritate, in the midst of the financial crisis, also challenged us that the situation of the crisis should not lead us to adopt an attitude of resignation and despair, but it should rather challenge us to replan our future. And having replanned our future, set ourselves new rules and new paradigms, and under the guidance of these new rules and paradigms, step out to fashion a new future for ourselves. It's the same advice that we give to ourselves these days and now as we face these two pandemics and seek to, as it were, cross the Rubicon, as it were. On account of this, at the heart of societies in these times then of new normal, we in the human family are called then to practice a form of politics that has as its side a human person, as we've said. It must be a politics that has what again Pope Benedict has described as political love, okay, political charity as it were, and it must mean that we must all commit to the well-being of another. For there's no way that we can live together without having the social well-being of the other at heart. So traditional concepts of political self-interest are overly self-centered as a foundation for national identity, and this must all crumble and give way to a sense of a communion, a sense which was presented by the European Union at its inception as a sense of building together, belonging together, and building together. So we are a global human community, integrated into the whole of creation. This realization then must take center stage in the new normal that we seek to fashion, or else the effort that we all seek to engage in and then spend will probably be in vain. So, at the instance of the words of Pope Benedict, that not to yield to despair, let us now embrace courageously the concern to yield to compassion that undergirds our political expressions today. Compassion that undergirds our relationship with nature. Compassion that regards our relationship with the poor and the needy in our midst. Compassion, as it were in the words of Pope Francis, that enables us to listen to the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth. And so this will require us, the generation, our present generation, to fashion and do everything with a great sense of responsibility for those coming after us, with a great sense of intergenerational solidarity. And so use every the resources that we have to prepare for the future. In this regard, recall the words with which God introduced Adam into the garden in Eden. The words were, till and keep. Till meant that Adam had to make the earth satisfy the needs that they had, Adam and Eve. But at the same time was to ensure that the earth maintained and preserved its capacity to fuel subsequent generations who will come, their children and those who will come after them. So till and keep. Yes, make use of the resources of nature and our Mother Earth, but ensure that these resources maintain their ability to preserve and to serve other generations to come after us. In this regard, then, our brotherhood and our sisterhood must bear this characteristic feature of compassion that enables us to be sensitive to human dignity, human rights. This must become traits of all what we do, and they must become a birthright, as it were, of all members of our community, as the Second Vatican Council proclaimed in its declaration on religious freedom. And so, dear friends, it is also, this would also demand of us, all of us, a recognition of our basic social bonding, a reality that must generate a profound sense and commitment to social cohesion, to social fraternity and social love. This, without wanting to enter deeply into theology and all, reminds us of what Augustine taught us. Augustine has taught us and left us a legacy that it's possible for us to live such a social cohesion and all, if deep at heart we live fraternity as a spiritual virtue. It is from living this as a spiritual virtue that is also possible for us to manifest this in our relationship with the world and all around us. Remember, Pope Francis begins his encyclical letter Laudato Si saying that it is the violence that is within our heart which is displayed in everything else around us. So now it is also, we can also say, the virtue that we develop within our heart is also capable of transforming everything and all relationships that exist outside us. So, my dear friends, Fratelli Tutti calls us to move beyond inherent brotherhood and sisterhood to the development of a consciousness of our fraternity. And you cannot overstate this. Remember the crucial expression in this encyclical of Pope Francis, the second recall of St. Francis of Assisi is fraternity, is brotherhood. And again, remember, the Greek word for brother is adelphos, and the Greek word for sister is adelphia. It means that they are from the same womb. And adelphos and adelphia is intending to express the fact that brothers and sisters emerge out of the same womb. Also intends to say that it's now possible for two beings to emerge out of the same womb, and one have more dignity than the other. So the expression brothers and sisters is to enable us and to invite us also to recognize this detail. We share and we equal in dignity. And this equality in dignity undergirds the need to respect and to support and to sustain and to be compassionate towards one another. This is a crucial principle then that the Holy Father in this encyclical set before us. So religious communities remain central to the creation of our human fraternity because our religious traditions bear this out. As Pope Francis demonstrates in the document on human fraternity, which is signed with the Grand Imam, the document on human fraternity, which is signed with the Grand Mufti of Al-Azhar University in Abu Dhabi. The various convenings then of the Parliament of World Religions have been and will continue to be a time of solidifying human fraternity. Because in so doing, we solidify what is genuine and what is intimate within us and between all of us. That is why it has been the honor of this great dicastery and joy to present this vision embedded in Fratelli Tutti in the virtual convening of the Parliament of World Religions. It is not only our wish, but it's also our prayer that the holding of this event of world religions may inspire all of us and rekindle within us the desire to embrace our common vocation to brotherhood and sisterhood, and embracing this vocation with the help of God, be able to reach out for one another, find one another, discover one another, and the discovered dignity that we share in common, promote the well-being of also one another and of our Mother Earth, our creation, our common home. So prayerful wishes for a successful event, and may God bless your assembly, may God bless all participants, and may God bless all the interventions that you'll be making. God bless you all.